Hey, it's JC1424 once again with another album review, and this is going to be the beginning of a 7-album review marathon in the wake of Linkin Park's upcoming 8th studio album after their huge comeback that was following the unfortunate passing of their third vocalist, Chester Bennington. And they have a new one that just joined the band, Emily Armstrong from Dead Sarah. But we'll get into all that when that album comes out. We're going to pick up where they left off and work our way back to the beginning to get to From Zero, their upcoming album in November. But One More Light. This came out shortly before Chester's passing, and I actually never listened to the album because the singles leading up to it just didn't hit with me, and so it's like they just did not advertise something that I felt like I was going to want to listen to at the time. Now I finally have. We get into this marathon here, and I listened to it in a Starbucks, which honestly, most of this album probably fits into a freaking Starbucks, doesn't it? And I did find some redeeming songs and qualities about it, but it was a lot of what I suspected way back 7 years ago. Track 1 is Nobody Can Save Me, and this is my second favorite song on this album. I'm glad it starts it off because it's something, a hidden gem that I did not really know about. One of the best pop songs of the era. Everything just works with the song, in my opinion. The beat hits really well, especially that first chorus. Chester's voice is adequate here, and there's a wonderful melody beneath the verses that just makes the song float.
Head first hallucination, I wanna fall wide awake now. You tell me it's alright, tell me I'm forgiven tonight, but nobody can save me now.
And then you got track 2, which is Good Goodbye, featuring Pusha T and Stormzy. I might have heard of Pusha T at some point. Definitely not Stormzy, though. I think this serves as a message to haters, don't let the door hit you on the way out kind of song. Both their features get a verse, but the second one definitely loses me with his accent and strutting with some type of lingo. I've never had much a taste for the style of bass or chipmunk shit used here either.
Did you care for him? You were dead wrong.
So say goodbye and hit the road, pack it up and disappear.
Track 3 is Talking to Myself. This might have been a single. Either that is just a song that I heard every now and then over the years. But it's written about the wall between you and someone not mentally in the right place. And I have to add that I heard in a podcast or interview at some point that Mike Shinoda actually wrote a number of these songs on this album in thought of Chester and stuff that he went through and usually made music about over the years, which is kind of heartwarming to think about. But instantly, I do enjoy the organ effects. They leave a neat impression throwing back to 1,000 Suns in some places in this song. I'm annoyed by the high ear-grating guitar. Not so much the high tuning of the song, though. Maybe the kick drum gets a bit overzealous, but it's still a good beat.
But I know, yeah, I know, yeah, I know, I'm just talking to myself. Ooh, talking to myself. Ooh.
And the fourth song on this album, Battle Symphony. Now, this one I know was a single. It has a decent lo-fi effect on the drums, a funky guitar loop that sounds cool. And as someone that doesn't even like pop music that much, like most of the people that listen to Linkin Park over the years, they are pulling something off with that. The melody is all right, but it sort of meanders, and Chester's voice in this era, it doesn't fit quite enough. The actual song alone, though, is self-explanatory, and it's a pretty fun anthem.
When they turn down the lights, I hear my battle symphony. All the world in front of me. If my armor breaks, I'll fuse it back together.
Okay, track 5, Invisible. This is another hidden gem. Mike Shinoda takes the lead, and he nails it. Chester trained this dude well. Again, it has a slightly jaded electronic ambience, much like on other previous albums, such as these. It's definitely more a lullaby of support, but it's not all that adventurous. The bass doesn't really move it places. It's got that notorious trope of pop to take those high vocals and then smother them in the background.
I'm just trying to get it right, and in spite of all I should have done, I was not mad at you. I was not trying to
then we find ourselves the halfway point already with track 6, which is Heavy, featuring Kiara. No, not the freaking lioness from Lion King 2. The singer that none of us had actually heard of until the song first came out. This is rather an unresolved, depressing lead single, but for what it's worth, when you're mentally in that place, one of the first steps to getting out is just simply being heard, not having solutions thrown at you instantaneously. And I feel this song fits her voice way more than it does Chester's, but that is something we need to talk about later on after the review's over with. But this mix reminds me of Zoe 101's intro, except down-tuned a bit, maybe. I'm not on board with the whole thing, but some of these softer electronics, and you'll notice between the second and final chorus that they are beautiful.
Holding on, so much more than I can carry. I keep dragging around what's bringing me down. If I just let go, I'd be set free.
The 7th song on this record is Sorry for Now. It's a pretty good song. This chipmunk shit is just fucking annoying, though. Fall Out Boy tried the same thing on Young and Menace, and it's disgusting. It sounds so bad. Chester has a verse that he raps on this one, though, and has some Transformer effects on it, and it is awesome. It comes with this huge climax for the song, thankfully. We haven't sonically gotten much of that on the album, unfortunately. It's a wholesome note of coming to closure with your own regrets, which, it must be said, that is very difficult.
I never wanted to say goodbye, so I'll be sorry for now that I couldn't be around. Sometimes things refuse to go the way we planned.
Okay, halfway right. Now, this is a song that stood out to me just in its general writing style. I'm assuming this has to do with a lot of the shit that Chester was doing in the 90s, and how he blames himself for the unhealthy antics of his youth, which seemed like the only thing he could do right in his mind. And meanwhile, all this internal struggle oddly is made to sound so cute and glorious by the music, which just throws me off. And then simultaneously, in my opinion, the bass is a tad too chunky here.
All you said to do was slow down, but I was already gone. I scream at myself when there's nobody else to fight. I don't lose, I don't win. If I'm wrong, then I'm halfway right.
And then you have the biggest, most important single of the album, track 9, One More Light. Was my favorite song of 2017. I already loved it when it first came out. And then came Chris Cornell's death and the live Jimmy Kimmel performance, and I loved it more. And then came Chester Bennington's death. And just thinking about it, I remember I had listened to the song the night before I went to work. And I was like, this is such a good song, and I'm sorry that he lost his friend. And I'm going to save that for it was the last note. And I got off of work, and I fell to my knees when I got outside. That was so much of my high school years. And in middle school, it was my first CD that I ever got was Hybrid Theory. I did my homework so many times to Hybrid Theory and Fallen by Evanescence and fucking All the Right Reasons by Nickelback. And I was absolutely going to see this band live someday, whatever. I had the fucking money to, but I was working a part-time job. I had no work ethic or self-esteem. Chester's voice in the song, as I wrote in the notes right here, is soft and a bit dry. And it has a lot more of a heart-wrenching effect than anything else on this album. It works so beautifully with the song in particular. And then hearing him play it live on that show, it was even more of that, because it was right in there. It was not perfected. It was just completely broken. And what I wanted to say a while ago is that there's also this really powerful scream that's just woven into the reverb of the interlude. Like it's just begging to be heard. I don't know how to continue on with or finish this review after that, because that just all came over me whenever that didn't even happen whenever I was taking the notes and listening to the song for the 100th time, but now I'm letting it out on camera and suddenly it's a big difference. But I guess it'll enhance my point I have to make about track 10, which is Sharp Edges, the final song on the album. This following such an emotional piece of music is just kind of peculiar. Not to say the theme isn't a valid lesson about how kids can be so naive, when they're young and they just learn from mistakes by the consequences of their actions. But the percussion has this damp texture while the song is high and upbeat. The tone of the acoustic guitar is good, but the folksy, playful approach just misses me. It's merely listenable. I don't know what the heck, like why this concludes the album and comes after One More Light. But my final score for Linkin Park's final album in the era of Chester Bennington, released on May 19th, 2017, is a 77%, which is a C-. Most of the album is all right. There's a couple great songs and a hidden gem in there. But the dry singing from Chester after this long era of screaming and singing, a number of pop effects that just don't add up for me in half the runtime. It is unfortunate, but I'm not going to sit here and make shit up and say the opposite of my observation in all this. It's worth at least one listen, because you can find stuff that might expand your horizons, and also hear out the guy, hear out what they have to say, what they have to talk about. Not be trapped in this box of new metal or punk rock like we'll be talking about in a few days. See you next time. That's that, and album review over.
Sharp edges had consequences. I guess that I had to find out for myself. Sharp edges have consequences now.